Batman and Robin number 0, written by Peter Tomasi, art by Patrick Gleason. This is a Damian origin story, and it basically just leads up to how did he come to meet Batman. I don't know if this has actually been covered before in like pre-New 52, but here it is here. So we open up a year and a half ago. Damian's fighting off ninjas and giant man bats, and he's just making quick work of them, and he's like, all right, Mom, no more secrets. So then we cut back to his birth, where he was, of course, grown in an artificial womb, an incubator, and he's let out, and immediately Talia takes him to a pool and just, like, sets him down in it. And one of the nurses is just like, maybe don't drown the baby, ma'am. And Talia just, like, throws a knife into her throat and says, like, all right, someone get another nurse for my son and don't ever talk back to me again. And Damian, because she was bleeding out in the pool, he comes out, he's covered in blood as a baby, and he's like, welcome to the world. So then we see Damian as, can only be like 3 years old or so, sparring with his mother with some wooden swords, and basically they get on the topic of, hey, who was my father? Like, why don't you talk about my dad? And she's like, I have no reason to talk about your dad. He means nothing to you right now. One day he will, but right now he's not important. She's like, but I wanna hear about it. She's like, how about this? The day that every year on your birthday we're gonna spar, we're gonna have a duel, and the day that you best me in that duel is the day that I will reveal the secrets about your father. And immediately she gets a call from Otto Netz, who I believe is going to be coming about in Batman Incorporated, about some big thing that she's working on called a meta bomb. And Damian makes his way into a trunk that has a bat cowl and cape in it, and he puts it on. And when Talia comes back, it's just like, oh, look at the little bat. But here's the thing, you're not just a bat, you're also the demon's head, so pay attention here. And shows him this map of the world and says, like, one day you're going to rule over all this because that's your divine mission. You are going to tame the world's chaos. So then we see just a compilation of Damian training and losing his birthday duels to his mother just over and over and over again as he gets older and older, until finally we open up on his 10th birthday, where he is literally jumping out of a plane to try to catch his mother by surprise. And she's already seen it coming. She's like, yeah, no, whatever. We've got ninjas up there. And she sends ninjas like paradiving after him, to which he just opens up with machine guns and shoots them all. And the few that he misses, he opens up one of their parachutes, which catch the rest of them in the chute itself. So they all fall to the earth. He then glides down, and we see the opening where he attacks a few ninjas and a giant man bat that Talia has sicked after him. And of course, no problem there at all. And then finally, he makes his way to the compound where his mother is and says, like, hey, I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to beat you. And she's like, big words. Let's see it. So they end up fighting, and it is just a knockout, drag-out fight here until finally Damian does, bloodied and beaten, manage to get the upper hand on his mother. And she's like, all right, I will take you to your father. Let's go to London. So they make their way in a submarine, and it looks like there are just a whole lot of dead bodies underwater here. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm supposed to recognize them. Regardless, he still has the bat cowl, and he's asking his mom, like, why are you keeping this? Like, why, if it's something that you don't care about anymore, why are you keeping this? It's like, oh, well, because it reminds me that I saw both sides of your father, much the same way that he saw both sides of me, and we still managed to have at least a short something there. But regardless, we are going to be arriving in London. So we see that Talia sicked a bunch of man-bats on Batman, managed to coerce him, get him down, and Talia steps up and introduces Damian and says, like, hey, here's the deal. Damian's getting to be a little bit much for me to handle. I need you to guide him at this critical point in his life to make him the true heir to Ra's al Ghul's throne. So you're up, Batman. And then we see Damian step up, sword to his father's throat, and says, like, Father, I imagined you were taller. And that's it. That is the entire intro to Damian. I like it. I think it's a good intro. I think that it sets up Damian's character well, of his ruthlessness, while also that longing for the father figure, that longing to have that character there, and also just how he wasn't born this way. Like, he was very innocent to start with, Like, he just put on the bat outfit and he's like, "Hey, mama, look, I'm a bat." Literally, that was his phrase. I like how it did show that he's not irredeemable, or he's not irredeemable. Yeah. So no, it was a solid issue throughout. Patrick Gleason's art's very good. There are a few shaky times where I think the inks get a bit too heavy, but that's just a personal style thing. I do recognize that it is good art, however. So overall, I'd say this is probably a 7.5. I think that the only flaw that it really falls into is that because I know that Damian existed pre-New 52, and therefore this was not allowed to be its own like original origin story. He wasn't allowed to put his own twist on it. It was literally, you have to work up to this point, which is still technically, I guess, in continuity. So it felt a little bit hampered by that, where it was just like, no, he has to be 10 years old. He has to do this. It has to lead up to that point. He did a lot with it, but there was still a little bit of, you have to get to this particular point here. So 7.5, though, I still really did enjoy it.